Iran has issued a blunt response to US President Donald Trump after he claimed he could soon declare the Straits of Hormuz US territory, escalating an already dangerous confrontation over one of the world's most important energy routes. Tehran's message was direct. Iran says the waterway remains under its authority and that any decision to open or close the strait will be made by Iran. Iranian Deputy Foreign Minister Kazim Garibabadi said the Strait of Hormuz has been, remains, and will continue to be Iranian, insisting that the waterway will only be opened or closed under Iranian command. The statement comes after Trump told supporters at a political rally in New York that once the United States defeats Iran, he will soon declare the Strait of Hormuz a territory of the United States. The comment immediately raised questions about Washington's intentions and the future of the strategic waterway.
Iran, which is being very badly defeated. Pretty soon I'll be declaring the Hormuz Strait a territory of the United States. Essentially, that's what it is. We have the blockade. No ships get through unless we want them to. But, and how about Venezuela? Venezuela was a one-day war. And now we work great with them. We've taken in millions and millions of barrels of oil. But we're doing really good. We're doing good in every way. You know, I built the military, and now I used it a little bit more than I wanted to, frankly, but that's okay, because we cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. Do we agree? Can't let it.
But there was another twist. A White House official reportedly later clarified that Trump was joking. Even so, Tehran clearly did not treat the statement lightly. And that is because the Strait of Hormuz is not an ordinary stretch of water. It is one of the world's most strategically important maritime passages, connecting the Persian Gulf with the Gulf of Oman and the wider Arabian Sea. Before the current conflict, roughly 1/5 of global oil and liquefied natural gas exports pass through the straits. That means any prolonged disruption can send shockwave through global energy markets. For Iran, control of the waterway is therefore a major strategic advantage for the United States and Gulf countries. Unrestricted navigation through Hormuz is a critical economic and security priority, and that is where the confrontation becomes increasingly dangerous. Iran has effectively restricted traffic through the strait amid the wider conflict, while the United States has imposed its own blockade against Iranian ports. Trump has insisted that Washington has control over the situation, saying no ships will pass unless the United States allows them to. Tehran, however, has rejected that position. Iran has also laid out conditions for reopening the waterway. Among those demands are an end to what Iranian officials describe as the war and aggression against Iran and its allies in Lebanon, Palestine, Yemen, and Iraq. Tehran has also demanded an end to sanctions, the release of frozen Iranian assets, and compensation for wartime damage. These demands indicate that the Strait of Hormuz is no longer simply a maritime dispute. It has become a bargaining chip in a much larger confrontation involving military operations, sanctions, energy security, and regional alliances. And while political leaders trade threats and statements, ships are still facing danger. The United Arab Emirates, state-owned oil company ADNOC, said one of its vessels came under attack. The Gulf nation had also blamed Iran for previous attack on 2 vessels linked to ADNOC while they were traveling through the straits. Iran has denied responsibility for some of the accusations surrounding maritime attacks. But the continuing incidents demonstrate how quickly the situation could spiral. And there is another front. Iran-backed Houthi forces in Yemen have reportedly announced a parallel maritime blockade targeting Saudi ports in the Red Sea. That is significant because Saudi Arabia depends heavily on maritime routes to export its energy resources. If both the Strait of Hormuz and key Red Sea routes remain disrupted, the consequences could extend far beyond the Middle East. Energy prices could rise, shipping costs could increase, insurance premiums could surge, and countries heavily dependent on imported oil and gas could face additional economic pressure. For Washington, this creates a serious political problem. Higher energy prices directly affect American consumers, particularly as the United States approaches the November midterm elections. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance has said Washington's priority in the conflict is to keep energy prices low for Americans, while preventing Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon is another major objective. But achieving both goals could become increasingly difficult if the Strait of Hormuz remains restricted. Iran has also indicated that it has reached an understanding with Oman concerning a possible route for ships to transit the Strait. The two countries were reportedly working on arrangements to jointly manage the waterway. That proposal could become an important diplomatic opening. But Washington will likely be watching closely because any arrangements that gives Tehran greater control over shipping could be fiercely contested. Before the conflict, Iran did not exercise the kind of control over Hormuz that it is now demanding. Tehran's apparent push for greater authority over the waterway therefore represents a major shift, and the United States is unlikely to accept any arrangements that gives Iran the power to determine which international vessels can pass. This leaves the region facing a dangerous question. Can diplomacy prevent the Strait of Hormuz from becoming the trigger for an even wider confrontation? At the moment, the rhetoric remains extremely aggressive. Trump says Washington has the power to control the waterway. Iran says the strait belongs under Iranian command. Ships are coming under attack. Blockades remain in place. And the global energy market is watching every development. What happens next could affect not only Iran and the United States, but also Gulf nations, Asian energy importers, and millions of consumers around the world. The Strait of Hormuz may be geographically narrow, but its economic and strategic importance is enormous. If the confrontation continues, the world's energy security could become increasingly dependent on what happens in those waters. And that is why Trump's remarks, Tehran's response, and the continuing attacks on shipping are being watched closely. The immediate challenge is no longer simply who controls the Strait of Hormuz. It is whether the world's major powers can prevent a strategic waterway from becoming the center of an even larger regional war. If you find this report informative, subscribe to the channel, turn on notification, and share this video so more people can stay informed about major international developments. Thank you for watching. Stay informed, stay safe, and watch out for our next reports. I'm Chidera Isom.